Don't be ridiculous. Stephen shouted, his voice dripping with disdain. That is absolutely unacceptable. His words hit me like a slap, sharp and stinging. You know what? I have no use for you anymore. You're nothing to me from this very second. His eyes were cold, unyielding. I'm not giving my money to someone as useless as you. I'm divorcing you. Take this and get out. He thrust a stack of papers toward me, his face contorted with anger. I stood there, my heart pounding, but I refused to let his words break me. I understand, I said calmly, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I have no objection to leaving. Besides, we're just wasting our time talking to each other like this. I took a deep breath, holding my composure. Let's discuss this further with our lawyers at a later date. I'll proceed with the divorce immediately. With that, I gathered the luggage I had prepared in advance, my hands trembling slightly as I zipped up the bag. Each item I packed felt like a step toward freedom, a reclaiming of my life. I left the house we had shared for decades, stepping out into the cool evening air, my heart heavy but resolute. This was the end of a chapter one had long outgrown, and though the future was uncertain, I felt a flicker of hope for a fresh start. My name is Bridget, and I am a mother of 2 incredible children. My youngest has just graduated from university and embarked on his career, a milestone that fills me with pride. Now, at this stage of my life, I'm searching for a new beginning, a chance to rediscover who I am outside the confines of a marriage that has long since lost its warmth. If Stephen and I had been a happy couple, we might have dreamed of growing old together, sipping tea on a quiet porch, sharing stories of our youth. But that vision was never ours. My relationship with Stephen had cooled to the point of frost, a slow decay that left us strangers under the same roof. Yet, it wasn't always this way. In the beginning, I adored Stephen. His intelligence was magnetic, his ambition inspiring. I respected him deeply and dreamed of a bright future by his side, one filled with love and partnership. For a time, I believed we could build something beautiful together. But after 35 years of marriage, I came to see his true intentions and the illusion of our love shattered. Stephen saw me not as a partner, but as a tool, a means to expand his empire. When we met, his company was already thriving, a testament to his relentless drive. From the outside, our marriage must have looked perfect, a successful businessman and his devoted wife, building a life together. But beneath the surface, it was a carefully calculated arrangement. 10 years into our marriage, our first son, Joshua, was born, bringing joy and purpose to my life. 2 years later, our second son, Liam, arrived, completing our family. But Stephen's reaction to their births revealed his true priorities. "Bridget, well done," he said with a smug grin. "Now my company is safe. I don't care which son is better. One of them will take over my business in the future." At first, I thought he was joking, his laughter masking the weight of his words. But as our boys grew and began to understand the world, Stephen's demands became clear. He insisted they were destined to inherit his company, as if their lives were his to script. I couldn't stay silent. "Stephen," I said firmly, "our children have their own lives. Please don't make it sound like taking over your company is the only thing that matters." He scoffed, his eyes narrowing. "You don't understand anything, do you? It's natural for parents to pave a path for their children to follow." "Of course," I replied, trying to keep my voice even, "but it's up to them to choose their path. Our job as parents is to guide them, not control them." His response cut deeper than I expected. "Do you know why I chose you to marry me?" he asked, his tone icy. "Because you were the granddaughter of a bank chairman. Financial connections are essential for a company to grow." I nodded, swallowing the sting of his words. "Yes, I'm aware we married through an arrangement. I understood you saw benefits in me." "Not just that," he continued, his voice smug. "You're by far the most brilliant woman I've ever met. I wanted a wife with a strong gene pool. If both parents have good genes, the odds are high their children will too. That way, I can pass my company to the best and brightest." My heart sank. "Is that what you really want?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," he said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. What other reason would I have married you? In that moment, the man I had loved became a stranger. I had been drawn to his excellence, his determination to build a company from nothing. I respected the hard work he poured into his goals. But to him, I was merely a stepping stone, a means to secure his legacy. My mind darkened, overwhelmed by the weight of his words. Yet, I couldn't afford to dwell in that darkness. I had 2 children to raise, and their futures became my anchor. From that day forward, I poured my heart into raising Joshua and Liam, determined to nurture them into independent, compassionate adults. It wasn't easy. Stephen's shadow loomed large, his expectations a constant pressure. But my boys were extraordinary, their intelligence shining from an early age, a trait Stephen took credit for, though I knew it came from their own spirits as much as any inherited gifts. Stephen and I had different agendas. He saw our sons as future CEOs, groomed to take over his empire. I focused on their education, their happiness, their ability to choose their own paths. We aligned only in our commitment to their potential, though for entirely different reasons. Stephen invested heavily in their education, treating it like a business expense, an upfront cost for his company's future. I saw it as an investment in their freedom. As a result, Joshua and Liam thrived. They excelled in school, their minds sharp and curious. But Stephen's pressure never relented. He reminded them constantly of their duty to his company, as if their dreams were irrelevant. I countered this at every turn, whispering to my boys that their lives were their own to shape. One day, when Joshua was still in elementary school, he approached me with a question that broke my heart. "Mom," he said softly, "will I have to work for Dad's company when I grow up?" I knelt down, meeting his wide, curious eyes. "Joshua, this is your life," I said gently. "Mommy wants you to do what makes you happy when you grow up. As long as you live without causing trouble for others, I'll be proud of any work you choose. Your life is yours, honey. Remember that, okay?" He smiled, a weight lifting from his small shoulders. "Okay, then, Mommy, can I tell you my secret?" "Of course," I said, my heart swelling. "I want to be a lawyer," he whispered, his eyes bright with excitement. From that moment, I knew Joshua had a dream he would protect, even from his father's ambitions. He never spoke of it in front of Stephen, sensing his disapproval. But he pursued it with quiet determination, eventually passing the bar exam and becoming a lawyer after university. He even started his own firm with a classmate, carving out a life that was entirely his own. Stephen was livid when he learned of Joshua's choice. "You never told me you were going to be a lawyer," he roared. "Why didn't you join my company? Do you have any idea how much I've spent on you? Quit that damn firm and join me." His anger was palpable, but Joshua stood his ground. "Father, are you sure you want me to stop being a lawyer?" he asked calmly. "If I build a strong record as a lawyer, I could help your company in the future. You're paying a fortune for legal counsel now. Even if I join you later, being a stronger lawyer now will only benefit you." Stephen's eyes lit up, not out of pride, but calculation. He saw potential profit in Joshua's argument, though I knew my son had no intention of joining his company. Joshua's words were a strategic deflection, a way to appease his father while protecting his own path. Stephen backed down, his focus shifting to Liam, our younger son, whom he believed would fulfill his vision. Liam was different from Joshua, a child with a strong, independent spirit. Even in kindergarten, he stood apart, not out of shyness, but by choice. During recess, while other children played in groups, Liam would do what he loved, sometimes standing still with his forehead against a tree, declaring, "Mom, I'm a tree now." That's why I don't understand human language. I laughed, playing along. "Oh, I see. But, Mr. Tree, it's time to go home now. Can you get ready for that?" "Okay," he said, grinning, and ran to gather his things. Liam's quirks were his strength. He was fascinated by plants and living things, a passion that grew with him. He taught himself Chinese and Spanish to read international research papers, his curiosity boundless. After high school, he chose to study abroad, immersing himself in biology and environmental science. Stephen saw this as a sign Liam would become a multilingual business owner to elevate his company. He couldn't have been more wrong. When Liam graduated, he joined a research institute abroad, dedicating himself to studying ecosystems. Stephen was furious. "That's not what you promised," he shouted over the phone. "Come back right now." Liam, ever calm, replied, "I'll come home when I'm tired of studying." "Knock it off, Liam," Stephen yelled, his rage boiling over. I later learned Stephen's anger wasn't just about Liam's defiance. His company was in financial trouble, a fact he hid from me but which Joshua uncovered. The pressure of his failing business made him cling even tighter to his sons, desperate for them to save his legacy. For years, Stephen and I barely spoke. Since Liam's birth, our marriage had been a hollow shell, sustained only by our shared responsibility for our children. I was grateful for his financial support, which allowed me to raise Joshua and Liam with the best opportunities. But now that they had left the nest, there was no reason to stay. I had been waiting for the right moment to divorce Stephen, and I confided my intentions to my sons. They supported me fully, their love and respect giving me strength. The moment came sooner than I expected. Stephen called me to the dining room, his tone formal. "Bridget, I need to talk to you. Take a seat." I sat, wary but composed. A folder lay on the table, its contents ominous. "It's unfortunate our children have left us to pursue their own paths," he said, his voice clipped. "I thank you for your 35 years of hard work." "Thank you, too, for financing their education," I replied, matching his formality. "Let's take a moment to consider the rest of our lives, shall we?" he said, sliding the folder toward me. "I've prepared divorce papers. I'm not leaving you penniless. I'll give you $30,000 for immediate expenses." I stared at him, disbelief washing over me. "What did you say? You can't buy back 35 years of my life for $30,000. He smirked. "You've had a good life so far, haven't you?" "Good life?" I snapped, my voice rising. "What are you talking about? Every time you open your mouth, you urge our children to take over your company. They have their own lives." "Shut up," he barked. "I'm the one paying for them, so it's only natural they follow my path." "That's not true," I countered. "It's natural for parents to invest in their children's futures, but not to dictate their paths. Their job is to build a better future for themselves, not to live out your dreams. I've never felt good living with you because we think so differently." "Don't give me that," he sneered. "You're just grateful to get paid." "I want properly calculated compensation," I said firmly. "You're a business owner. You know $30,000 for my share of our property is insane. You spent money on our sons, yes, but I've taken care of everything for you and them. My support allowed you to focus on your work without any problems. When we've fulfilled our obligations to each other, our property should be divided equally, as the law requires." "Quit your nonsense," he shouted, his face reddening. "I'm not paying." "The law? I agree to the divorce, but I'm not giving you anything more." His words were the final straw. I took the divorce papers, my resolve hardening. "I understand," I said. "I'll proceed with the divorce through our lawyers." I gathered my luggage and walked out, heading to Joshua's house nearby, ready to leave Stephen behind for good. At Joshua's house, I sat with my son, the divorce papers still in my hand. "So, Dad initiated the divorce," Joshua said, his voice calm but tinged with sadness. "Yes," I replied, lifting the papers. As I did, I noticed a sticky note on the back. "What's this?" I muttered, peeling it off. My heart stopped as I read it. Joshua's eyes widened. I knew it. The rumors were true. "What?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Mom, call the police," he said urgently. "No, not just the police, the IRS, and the prosecutor's office." "I'll handle it." I nodded, trusting his judgment. 2 weeks later, Stephen was arrested for fraud. He had swindled hundreds of millions from a bank under the guise of a new business venture, then ordered his staff to destroy the evidence. The sticky note, carelessly attached to the divorce papers, was a damning clue, a fragment of his scheme that he'd failed to conceal. The divorce was finalized, and Stephen's company collapsed under the weight of his crimes. He sold off his assets to repay the bank, but it wasn't enough to cover his debts. I worried about the impact on Joshua, who had exposed his father's fraud, but to my surprise, he was hailed as a hero for his integrity. As for me, I received no share from Stephen, now a penniless convict. But I didn't care about the money. My priority was ensuring the fraud victims were compensated. I stepped away from the courtroom, where I had once practiced as a lawyer, and took on a new role as an advisor at Joshua's firm. Returning to work felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, a chance to contribute and grow. 3 years later, Stephen was released from prison. My sons, ever compassionate, reached out to him. Liam returned from abroad, and together they picked their father up on his release day. They told me he thanked them, though he declined their offer of help. In that moment, I saw a glimmer of the fatherly spirit I had once hoped for in him. He was now working to pay off his debts, a humbling end to his once grand ambitions. My life and Stephen's will never intersect again. I hope his ordeal has given him a chance to reflect on his choices, to rethink the man he became. He sent me a letter once, through Joshua, likely an apology for our marriage. But I returned it unopened. Joshua urged me to read it, his kindness shining through, but I refused. Forgiving Stephen would ease his conscience, and I'm not ready to grant him that peace. This is my small act of revenge, a quiet reclaiming of the 35 years I gave to a man who saw me as a means to an end. My sons have grown into honest, decent men, and their strength is my greatest pride. As for me, I'm focused on living the rest of my life cleanly and righteously, free from the shadows of the past. I'm grateful for the chance to start anew, to build a future that is mine alone. Thank you for joining me in this journey. If my story resonated with you, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video.